5% during the first pricing window. The projected drop follows recent adjustment by oil marketing companies, where diesel prices have already been reduced within the current pricing cycle. Petrol, however, may not see a similar reduction, with indications pointing to stability or a marginal increase. Diesel is expected to record the most significant price decline in May, offering some relief to consumers and businesses that rely heavily on the product.
What I can put on record is that you are more likely to see the prices of diesel decline, whilst that of PMS is likely to remain stable or even go up slightly. For users of diesel, I would naturally be expecting some 4-5% decline in current pump prices. And then I do think that for petrol, if it doesn't stay stable, you may end up rather paying just a little more, because the current window, which of course phases out by Thursday night, midnight, you saw a lot of the OMCs pricing diesel a bit lower than originally anticipated. So per our numbers, you could have seen diesel decline by as much as 5%, 4-5%, whilst petrol could have also sharply increased. If all things are equal, I would not be surprised that a lot of the OMCs may decide to do what you call cross pricing and maintain current pump prices. That is, if they decided to balance off the differential in petrol with that of diesel, which has gone down, you may end up seeing some stability at the pumps. But all in all, diesel prices are likely to witness the sharpest or the biggest jump for the window that starts on Friday, 1st of May, which is the first window of May, of course, Pius.
Duncan Namwa also said NPA's indicative pricing limits competition, urging removal of price floors to allow market forces such as demand, supply, and forest conditions to determine floor prices freely.
At the end of the day, these are only indicative prices that the NPA sets. The NPA has no power, no right, no mandate to set prices. We have even set time with that number that these price floor setting or computation would have to be done away with, so that the market itself can compete freely. But as it stands, it looks as though what the NPA puts out there will force the market or the industry to now have to operate within those numbers. I think that exercise, again, to add to what a cross-section of Ghanaians have already said, it has to be done away with, so that the market forces of demand, supply, and of course the forex position could actually allow for prices to be set or determined by these OMCs without hindrance. But as it stands, I expect that they would all play within the numbers that the NPA is putting out there currently.
That was the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa, there. Away from that, gross earnings in the United States declined by 3.04% to 3.09 trillion naira in the 2025 financial year. Transcorp Power also recorded a drop in performance, with revenue falling by 10.29% to 94.6 billion naira. Profit before tax similarly declined by 8.52% to 39.6 trillion naira, while selling and distribution expenses increased by 11.3%. Speaking on CNBC Africa, an analyst at Asa Investment, Mokhtar Mohammed, said the recapitalization of subsidiaries in China forms part of a long-term growth strategy. He explained that although current financial results may appear weak, the recapitalization process is expected to strengthen banks' capacity to expand and ultimately deliver improved returns. Mr. Mohammed cited examples such as FCNB, which transitioned from a national license to an international license. He noted that such strategic moves take time to reflect in financial performance, but are expected to benefit shareholders in the long run.
So China is into recapitalization of their subsidiaries. So all these are going to plan out in the long term. I think I'm positive. That's why I say it's a one-off. But definitely the recapitalization drive will help the bank to expand. You've seen a bank like FCMB have moved from a national license to an international license. So those are Fidelity, the same thing. So those are the type of things that we'll see, and those impacts will be felt in the bottom line of most of the shareholders when their results start coming out. But we have to put it in context that when it comes to expansion drive, you don't begin to see those results immediately. It takes time. We are seeing that in WhatsApp in assets. But when you look at a bank like UBA, since that their expansion drive, if you look at their balance sheet, you realize that the subsidiary abroad have been giving them huge returns. So definitely what we are seeing in like of Zenith Bank, and we will begin to see the subsidiary also giving them huge return. Remember now, some of these banks are not buying, starting from the scratch, they are acquiring yes. So already established banks. So definitely I believe that in the long run, Nigerian banks will definitely be one of the biggest in Africa going forward.
Mohamed Mokhtar is an analyst at Asa Investment. The Volta region has received 900 laptops and related accessories under the government's 1 million coders program, an initiative aimed at strengthening digital skills development among young people. The equipment will facilitate training across 16 districts in the first phase of the project, which is designed to improve digital literacy and provide participants with hands-on experience in coding, website creation, and other ICT-related disciplines. The devices were supplied through the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC. Registration for the program is currently in progress, with over 200 applicants already signed up. Training is expected to commence on May 4. Presenting the items, the Volta Regional Manager of GIFEC, Dr. Francis Segla, said the program is intended to equip young people with critical digital competencies needed to succeed in a rapidly evolving technology-driven environment.
We are in a world of technology, and without the computing skills, it will be very difficult for you to even make it in business and every environment. So these machines are going to aid the youth, especially. They will learn programs, they will learn computer languages, etc., to improve on their businesses.
You just heard a Volta Regional Manager of GIFEC, Dr. Francis Segla, speaking there. The Minister for Roads and Highways, Governs Kwame Abuja, says government has paid $29.5 billion owed to contractors working on the Swami Road project. Speaking during an inspection tour, the minister added that an additional 3 billion Ghana cedis has been committed to speed up construction and improve road quality. He assured residents that their project is on track and expected to be completed by the end of 2028. The minister said the investment reflects government's commitment to modernizing Ghana's roads network and easing transportation challenges for communities along the Swami corridor.
In the case of the Swami interchange, we were owing about $29.5 million. That has fully been paid as well. And this is at a time that we are not able to borrow money and we are not able to do anything extra. When cocoa prices are down and everything, President Mahama is able to do this simply because of prudence and efficiency of managing the economy. So it is very clear that President Mahama is not a president that came to abandon any project. And indeed, as of 2 weeks ago, President Mahama directed and his finance minister paid arrears to contractors in excess of 12 billion Ghana cedis. Almost all that money was awarded before he came. They were not projects awarded by him. These were projects he inherited. The question is, what happened in 2017? Did the then government actually decide to just allow project to continue and pay? No, they didn't do that. They suspended and said they were doing investigation. And as a result, I actually consider the collapse of the Cocoa Road project because of the delay in, instead of continuing the project, saying they are doing investigation. This is what reset means to President Mahama. As we stand here today, the contractor has already confirmed that by the end of this year, this section of the road will be fully completed, which is very good news to Asanteman. And then we are still back on schedule to complete the interchange itself. We just came from the inspection of the bypass, which is a 47 kilometers in about 3 billion. So in effect, we are not taking a cedi out of the Swami interchange project. We are rather adding 3 billion Ghana cedi rather to enhance the impact of this and the bypass. So Asanteman can rest assured that President Mahama means well. We intend to complete this project by the end of 2028, as the contractor says. But the section on which we are standing now will be completed by the end of this year, and then works will be progressing on the bypass as well.
That was the Minister for Roads and Highways, Gavins Kwame Abuja. Now to our final story, the Executive Director of the West African Network for Peace Building, Lavinia Adai-Mensah, has reaffirmed her organization's commitment to developing a new generation of youth peace builders across the sub-region. Speaking at the launch of the 2026 White Team program in Accra, she highlighted the importance of empowering young people to play active roles in conflict prevention and peace-building efforts. The initiative is expected to equip participants with practical skills, mentorships, and field experience to strengthen capacity in addressing peace and security challenges.
Move them further forward. I think young people need to also be more believing in themselves, in the sense that they are already leading in different ways, at different levels. Unfortunately, the dominant narratives we have around do not seem to give a lot of highlight or even a lot of recognition to those sorts of leaderships that exist. Granted, some of those leaderships may not necessarily be for constructive purposes, but there are many more that are for constructive purposes. Unfortunately, we are not recognizing them. And so for me, I think it's about young people themselves believing in the fact that they do possess something already, that they are using already, so that they, among themselves, they can help to create a better, bigger force for communicating that value that they already have. Then it also helps, to a large extent in terms of other doors and other platforms.
That was the Executive Director of West African Network for Peace Building, Lavinia Adai-Mensah, ending news at 6. This is where we end that news at 6, but before I go, a recap of our top stories. Businesses urged to rethink consumer targeting as digital habits evolve. Also, diesel prices set to drop in May as petrol remains stable. And West African Network for Peace Building reaffirms commitment to groom youth peace builders across West Africa. We came your way with details of these stories and many others from our studio here at number 6, Anyete Avenue, East Legon, Accra. For more news, you can log on to www.zedmultimedia.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and on TikTok and YouTube at ZMultimedia. Thank you for listening. I am Mami Ifwa Kwejwa. Do enjoy the rest of our shows. Up next is the Business Breakfast Show with me, Trebi Hammond.
You're tuned in to Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
In the heart of Accra, nestled in the vibrant neighborhood of East Legon and New Beacon, a 360 multimedia farmhouse emerged. Introducing Zed Multimedia. With a steadfast focus on lifestyle, leisure, and business, we set out to bring high-value oriented programs that captivate the taste and desires of our audience. From the captivating airwaves of Zed 101.9 FM to the dynamic visuals of Zed TV and the innovative realms of Zed Digital and the incubation of advanced technological knowledge at Zed Tech, every facet of modern media is meticulously curated to engage and inspire. Also, let's not forget the new Finder newspaper, now under the Zed Multimedia umbrella, delivering insightful journalism with a business focus. Join us on the journey where innovation meets inspiration, where lifestyle meets leisure, and where business thrives. Change is here. Zed Multimedia, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform.
Here is my worship, my offering, to be fully given. shine like your face, to be your dwelling, your resting place. Here's my worship, here is my worship, my offering, to be fully given. It's my one thing, to be a fragrance, to shine
when you feel motivated, but right here in moments like this. Discipline is what gets you up when your feelings are telling you to stay down. You won't always feel like doing what needs to be done. There will be days when motivation is low and excuses are loud. But if you wait to feel ready, you might never start. So push yourself, even if it's small. Get up, take that step, and begin that task. Because consistency on days like this is what builds strength and sets you apart over time. Remember, it's not about how you feel, it's about what you choose to do despite how you feel. And that is where growth lives. And that's where progress is made. So shake off the cold, rise up, and take charge of your day, my friend. Good morning.
Thank thee for thy love so pure and so free, O Lord. We thank thee.
This is Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM.
Good morning, Ghana. It's Wednesday, the 29th of April, 2026. A cold, rainy morning in parts of Accra. The kind where getting out of your bed feels like a real decision. And the roads will be slow. The traffic will test your patience. And everybody is just trying to move carefully. Well, this is the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nitrebi Hammond. Thank you very much for making this part of your Wednesday morning. Now, if you are there already, please take it easy. If the weather the weather has its plans for this morning. And if you're still indoors, gathering the energy to get out, you are not alone. Midweek like this doesn't shout. It just asks you to show up steady and focus. And we'll walk you through the business stories, the market movements, and the decisions shaping the economy, because rain or shine, the numbers are still moving. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please do well to like, comment, follow, and share with your family and friends and get them to be a part of the show this morning. It's Wednesday. Stay safe, stay steady, and let's move, as always, for God and country.
Every chapter of my story, so how you led me, Lord. I'm the handwriting of mercy by the finger of the Lord. This is the finger of the Lord. You've been right here beside me, through the fire, through the rain. I didn't burn, I didn't drown, 'cause you were right by my side. I am a living testimony of the goodness of the Lord. Hey, this is the doing of the Lord. What shall I render? Indeed, what shall I render? What shall I render to you? What shall I render? Say, yeah, I'm in a woman found. And can you? And yeah, I'm in a woman found. Ay, 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 this is the doing of the Lord.
our work, how do they call that? Our overheads in this country. You know, sometimes my heart goes out to those, not sometimes, or my heart goes out to those who live under the circle, what they call under bridge. Yes, those who live there, and sometimes I wonder what they go through in times like this. The cold and the rains. Where do they go and sleep? Do they stand all night? What happens to them? You know, and it saddens my heart so much to know that we have issues like this, housing deficits and all of that in this country, and we seem not to be doing too much about it. I don't know, but if you're listening to me this morning and you are like such a person, maybe living under, maybe homeless, you just don't have somewhere you lay your head every morning. Yes, my heart goes out to you this morning, and I pray that the Lord will come through for you as you're trusting Him, as you're believing Him. He will come through for you. And if you have a home, if you're listening to me and you have a home that is empty, maybe you may want to find somebody and let the person live there, because shelter is one of the most important things in life. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, one of the very important things is shelter. And so, you know, times like this, I don't know, but my heart goes out to those people who do not have a place to lay their heads this morning, overnight. You know, yeah, I don't know what to say, but my heart goes out to them, and I hope that they find somewhere to lay their heads in a few months or in a few days or some few weeks to come, because I know that the rains are going to continue coming, because we are entering the month of May, you know, June, around those areas. I mean, those months there are lots of rains, and my heart goes out to those people. But anyway, thank you very much once again for choosing us this morning. We are really grateful that you made time to be a part of our show this morning. We have quite a number of things coming up for you. And as always, you're going to start with our news review segment. And right after that, we get into our business news at exactly 7 o'clock. And then at 7:30, I will bring you the business brief segment. I'll share something briefly in line with our roundtable discussion this morning. And then we get into what we call transport today. Solomon Tetenate will be giving us all the local flight schedules as well as the traffic situation in town. And on a day like this that it has rained, you expect a lot of traffic in town. And so he'll be giving you all the updates so that you know where to pass and where not to pass this morning if you want to avoid traffic. And so that will be coming your way shortly. Also, then we'll bring you the market trend segment. Emmanuel Boateng, our in-house economic analyst, will also be joining me. We'll have conversations on the market movements this morning, and then we wrap everything up with a roundtable discussion. Now, today, what we're talking about is very important. We're talking about the peak hour fare increases. Now, some people decide to increase fares when they know that it's a peak hour. You know, you close from work, you're on your way home, and you get to a bus stop, the mate or whoever says that it's cost maybe twice as much as what you usually spend to get home. And it's because there are lots of people who want to board cars, and so if you don't, just alight, or just drop in so that we can continue our journey. You know, we're going to have a conversation on that this morning. If you've had that experience before, feel free to interact with me. You can send me a WhatsApp on 0544-321019, 0544-321019. Also, you can call us on 030-3956-641, 030-3956-641. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please feel free to engage us on those platforms, and we'll read your messages for you. So let's get into all that we have to do this morning, and we're starting with our news review segment. Stay tuned. All right, thank you very much. So let's get into our news review segment this morning. We'll look at some of the stories that are making waves, and then we try to break a few of them down this morning. And starting with a New Finder newspaper, on the front page, it says that bond market activity turnover drops to 559 million Ghana cedis. Also, Bank of Africa scale up to scale up SME support, and that story is on page 8 of the paper. Also, fuel prices to go down from May 1, and that is on page 9 as well. Also, lack of reliable data a risk factor to businesses, and that story is on page 2 of the paper. Also, Ghana rejects $109 million health aid, and that is on page 7 of the paper. Also, lack of broadening investor interest signals stock market maturity, and that is from an analyst. And food insecurity a trigger to social unrest. That's a story there as well. Also on page 4, it says that government declares May 1 a public holiday, and MEMA clears squatter mechanics at Obechebi Lamte interchange. 2 suspected highway robbers killed. And also EPA cautions mining firms on illegal operations. Paramilitary status to safeguard forestry officers. Interior Ministry imposes motorbike ban in Binduri. Also, Joe Jackson says that city stability misunderstood. And also, BOG losses were necessary for economic stabilization. This one also says that UAE to exit OPEC and OPEC Plus from May 1. Also, this one says oil nears $110 as Strait of Hormuz crisis shift, and tallow oil profit slams 87%, and gold eases as market weighs central bank signals, and NPA announces marginal fuel price reduction from May 1. All right. Also, these are some. Okay, well, so these are some of the stories making waves this morning. Let's move on to myjoyonline.com. Here, top story says that power boost at Akosombo as 4th unit comes back online in late night breakthrough. Also, we won't be silent. Christian Council defends right to speak on national issues, and GFA to receive $2.5 million from FIFA to prepare for World Cup, and $10 million for qualifying for tournament. And also, this one says that we are citizens and not spectators. Christian Council defends speaking truth to power. Also, fuel prices dip from May 1 as diesel drops sharply and LPG set to surge. UAE to quit oil cartel OPEC. And also, Kenya's leader backtracks after comments mocking Nigerians' English. And also, my wife never caught me cheating. Richard Quay dismisses viral infidelity claims. And also, they couldn't get me, so they used my wife. RNAQ alleges external plot to destroy his marriage. And Trump's face to feature on commemorative U.S. passports. All right, so these are some of the stories making waves on myjoyonline.com. Let's check citynewsroom.com. Here, Ghana's banking sector strengthens as assets surge to 465 billion Ghana cedis, and that's coming from a Bank of Ghana report. Also, Great Fire 4th-generation unit restored at Akosombo, and that is coming from the Energy Ministry. Also, the Ghana Statistical Service says that South Africa leads Ghana's export destinations in Africa. Also, Adamus denies illegal mining allegations and raises due process concerns. Government clears $29 million Swami road debt and boost project with 3 billion Ghana cedis funding. Also, police arrest 2 over disappearance of couple in Accra, and Ghana Bank's chief state attorney, Dr. Adusu, for its lost role. And also, Ghana Federation of Labour to abstain from 2026 May Day celebrations. Those are some of the stories there. Now let's turn our attention to channel1newsonline.com. Here it says that government pays $29.5 million Swami road debt and commits 3 billion Ghana cedis for completion. Also, Adamus, we are victims of Galamsey and not perpetrators. Also, Salman Chief proposes revocation of Adamus mining lease and defense company operations. So these are some of the stories there. Also, Energy Ministry says that 50% of Akosombo capacity restored after Great Fire, and Ghana Federation of Labour to boycott 2026 May Day celebrations. Government settles 2 months arrears for newly recruited nurses. Also, government seeks investor for national airline, and 3rd Akosombo unit restored, and that is from Jinapo. Also, 7 feared dead in a Hyundai minibus crash at Nkoko, and 2 suspected highway robbers killed in shootout with police and officer injured. Furiata faces U.S. immigration courts on June 15 amid extradition bid. So these are some of the stories there as well. Let's move on to graphiconline.com this morning. Now here, minority blames government for doomsday and rejects Akosombo fire excuse. Also, if you miss mandatory national services, how you can register. Okay, I think that's a feature there. Now, this one says that Ghana rejects proposed U.S. health aid deal, citing data consent. Reuters report that. And also, government invites strategic partners for establishment of a new national airline. Not politics but moral duty. Catholic bishops respond to remarks on church advocacy on Galamsey, and also confront audit infractions with honesty. Accountant General to public sector accountants. Also, Sidun Kitia says that Buankra Inland Port critical to economic transformation. And Deputy Energy Minister says that power outages to ease in stages. Full stability expected by December. And former Ghana Water Company Limited boss calls for military role to protect water sources. And also pollution at River Bonsa raise alarm as Parliament backs assemblies for more resources. Interior Ministry also bans motorbikes in Binduri after deadly ambush on military envoy. Let's move on to the High Street Journal this morning. Here says that $1 per passenger, the Malta Guinness reality of airline profits that explains Ghana's high airfares. Also, Ghana's city crisis. The problem is not what you think. Share 2026 opens in Accra with push for value addition to unlock billions in Africa's share economy. Also, Black Stars stand to gain as FIFA moves to raise 2026 World Cup prize pool. And Ghana city crisis. The problem is not what you think. All right. This one says extractive sector leakages driving CD volatility. Sorry. That is from Dalex CEO. Also, government creates 86 billion. Government creates over 86,000 new jobs, and that is coming from the YEA director. And also, GNPC enhances procurement process capacities of local vendors in Ghana's oil economy. Also, Ghana steadied its economy, but its farmers are wondering which economy that was. And gold eases as markets weigh Iran diplomacy and central bank signals. Also, GNPC PIAC impasse why Explorco revenue cannot be subject to the Petroleum Holdings funds. And that is from Dr. Donko. Let's look at BNFT and then we touch on some news on the international front. Now, BNFT says that Women in Business Dialogue series participant backs result-driven platform, and also TBO auction show emerging investor pushback. And Goldboard CEO tours Royal Ghana Gold Refinery ahead of refining services partnership. Also, AGI CEO urges city stability at all costs. And Fidelity Bank launches Orange and Spark Cohort to partner ALX to empower creative entrepreneurs. Those are some of the stories there. Maybe finally, let's look at the international fronts. Now, King reiterates importance of NATO in a contested world at White House State Banquet, and that is on BBC.com. Now, five takeaways from King's historic address to Congress. Also, former FBI director charged with threatening Trump's life in Instagram post, and also weeks of silence over Iran school strike, highly unusual. Former U.S. official says that. On BBC Africa, what is next for Mali's military leaders after shock of rebel offensive? Also, oil tycoons deny paying bribes to former Nigerian minister, and also Ghana's military hunts those behind convoy attack on Northern Highway. And also Kenya's leader backtracks after comments mocking Nigerians' English. And also African immigrants want to close shops during South Africa anti-migrant march. On CNN, it says that Kinshasa subtle but striking warning to U.S. Also, U.S. to issue passports featuring Trump's picture to mark 250th anniversary. Israeli settlers are using water as a weapon against Palestinians in the West Bank with devastating consequences. On Reuters, UAE leaves OPEC in blow to global oil producers group. Also, Trump unhappy with latest peace proposal, says Iran figuring out its leadership. And Iran's guards seize wartime power and blunting supreme leaders' role. And maybe finally on Reuters Africa, Iran war is latest blow to Somalia's malnourished children. Also, Senegal MPs back electoral reform that could open door to Sonko candidacy. And also Kenya's economy grew 4.6% in 2025. Stats office say that also Uganda Central Bank says proposed sovereignty law could trim reserves and trigger inflation. And so these are some of the stories making waves this morning on the various portals. But that will be all for our news review segment this morning. Up next is the business news. Please stay tuned.
It's now time for the business news. Coming up shortly, City weekends as dollar hits 11 cedis 85 pesos. Also to come, Ghana confident as IMF final review begins, and Royal Gold Refinery pledges support for 24-hour economy drive. I am Mami Ifwa Kwejwa. We will bring you details of our headlines and other stories shortly. Please stay. Thank you for your company. Now to the details. The Ghana cedi has continued its gradual depreciation over the past 2 weeks. The decline has been relatively milder compared to previous months. On the interbank market, the local currency slipped by 0.54%, trading at 11 cedis 9 pesos to the US dollar. It also weakened against the British pound and the euro, closing at 14 cedis 99 pesos and 12 cedis 99 pesos respectively. In the retail forex market, the cedi recorded steeper losses, with the dollar trading at 11 cedis 93 pesos and the pound at 15 cedis 78 pesos. The euro strengthened to 13 cedis 78 pesos. Since the beginning of 2026, the cedi has lost approximately 2.55% of its value against the US dollar. Analysts at Data Bank Research attribute the pressure on the currency to rising import demand. However, they say sentiments could improve if Ghana's ongoing IMF staff mission concludes successfully, potentially unlocking about $385 million in support. The research firm projects that the cedi could trade within a range of 10 cedis 95 pesos to 11 cedis 35 pesos to the dollar by mid-May, supported by expected inflows from gold exports and central bank interventions. Meanwhile, at forex bureaus this week, $1 is being sold at an average of 11 cedis 85 pesos. Under the new pricing window running from May 1 to May 15, petrol will be sold at 13 cedis 25 pesos per litre, while diesel is priced at 14 cedis 30 pesos per litre. Liquefied petroleum gas is also set at 13 cedis 02 Ghana pesos per kilogram. The NPA says petrol has recorded a marginal reduction of 2 pesos, while diesel has dropped significantly by 1 cedi 80 pesos per litre. The authority explains that the adjustment reflects changes in global crude oil prices and exchange rate movements. It noted that diesel prices, which previously peaked in April due to rising global crude costs and currency pressures, have now eased. Government interventions, including the removal of some margins in the petroleum price buildup, have also contributed to the recent price reductions. The NPA has, however, reminded oil marketing companies and LPG marketers to comply with the approved price floors, although final pump prices may vary depending on additional margins applied by individual stations. The authority says the new prices take effect from May 1 and will be reviewed mid-month. Moving on, the Association of Ghana Industries is calling for further reduction in lending rates following a significant drop in commercial borrowing cost, which it says is boosting business confidence. Chief Executive Officer Seth Chuma notes that rates have declined from about 30% in 2024 to around 17%, easing financial pressure on firms and supporting expansion, investment and competitiveness. He explains that the lower cost of credit is helping industries move from survival to growth with expected increases in production and employment. The association is urging government to sustain fiscal discipline beyond the IMF program and align development finance institutions to offer cheaper long-term funding. It stresses that maintaining stability, promoting local production and reducing import dependence will be critical to sustaining industrial growth. Away from that, economic analyst Emmanuel Boateng has described the recent 6% week-on-week gain on the Ghana Stock Exchange as a strong indicator of improving investor sentiment, while cautioning that such gains should be interpreted carefully. Speaking on Business Breakfast on ZFM, Mr. Boateng said the surge is particularly significant given the relatively small size and typically low volatility of Ghana's stock markets. He explained that the current rally is being supported by several listed entities, pointing to a broader-based momentum that suggests a shift in market dynamics. According to him, gains of this magnitude are uncommon and often signal a potential turning point in investor confidence.
6% week-on-week gain in the market index is quite significant, especially in a relatively small and less volatile market like the Ghana Stock Exchange. And such a move is a clear indication, of strong buying pressure and a coordinated upward movement across multiple stocks rather than gains by a single company. Say MPN alone is the one that is causing it. But no, we are seeing multiple stocks listed on the exchange driving this momentum. Now, in context, weekly gains of this magnitude are not very common and often signal a turning point in market sentiment. It also suggests that investors are becoming more optimistic and are willing to take on more risk. And this is very, very important in markets that have experienced periods of stagnation. But I think it's also important that we interpret this data very carefully and pretty more cautiously. Sharp increases can sometimes be followed by short-term contractions. I'm sure if you're an active investor on the stock market, this is no news to you. We saw the bullish run in January, bullish run in February, then March, bloodbath, all red. I'm sure investors do remember this. And in the month of April, we've been seeing a mixture of greens and reds. So sometimes when the bullish run goes overboard, the short-term corrections will show up. And I believe that is essentially the point that I'm making, because you see that, well, the market has been bullish. Investors will start taking profits. They will sell out their positions, and that translates into profits for them.
Ghana is entering the final phase of its program with the International Monetary Fund. With government confidence, the country is on track to exit successfully in August 2026. An IMF staff mission is in Accra this week for the 6th and final review under Ghana's 3-year extended credit facility. The team will assess fiscal consolidation, inflation, debt management and structural reforms while engaging government, the central bank and civil society. Technical advisor at the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Theo Echampon, says Ghana has largely met program commitments and expects a positive outcome. He noted that the final review will take stock of progress achieved, including reforms and tax measures. The IMF team will compile its findings and present them to the Executive Board in Washington, paving the way for Ghana's program completion, subject to final approval. Now, rice farmers in the Afadato South District of the Volta region are calling on government to urgently intervene to address rising post-harvest. Spokesperson for the Afajato South Farmers Association, Dixon Kojo Ado, says large quantities of rice harvested last year remain unsold, making it difficult for farmers to repay loans and prepare for the next farming season. He attributes the challenges to the lack of processing facilities, particularly a rice mill, which has prevented farmers from supplying to the National Buffer Stock Company. Farmers also cite the breakdown of the only privately owned rice mill in the area and the absence of proper storage facilities as major setbacks. They further raised concerns about high production costs, falling prices and limited market access, warning that the situation is discouraging youth participation and forcing some farmers to scale down production. The farmers are also urging the government to invest in processing facilities, storage infrastructure and affordable agricultural inputs to sustain local rice production and reduce dependency on imports. Royal Gold Refinery Limited says it is aligning its operations with government's 24-hour economy agenda to boost gold processing and create more jobs for young people. The Chief Executive Officer of the company, Eric Frimpong Santing, says the initiative will expand employment opportunities by allowing continuous production and skills development within the refinery sector. He explains that the model will help absorb more young Ghanaians into full-time work while also supporting technical training. According to him, experienced professionals have been engaged to train local staff with plans for workers to eventually take full control of operations after acquiring the necessary skills. Mr. Santing added that when finally operational, the facility is expected to employ about 27 workers per shift. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Mr. Sami Jenfi, says a technical expert has been engaged to assess refinery and advise on a possible operational partnership. He noted that the expert will work closely with the company on a daily basis to provide technical support and guidance on the system. Mr. Jenfi expressed optimism that discussions would lead to a formal agreement within weeks, paving the way for full operationalization of the refinery. Now to our last story, the African Center for Energy Policy is urging governments to publish the full findings of investigations into the recent fire outbreak at the Greenco Akosombo substation, which disrupted power supply across the country. The policy group says transparency is critical to restoring public trust and ensuring accountability following concerns over possible negligence, misconduct, or systemic failures that led to the incident. The outage left significant generation capacity stranded and affected households and industry. ASEP also wants government to improve communication by providing a clear and reliable load shedding timetable to help businesses and consumers to plan. The group maintains that beyond restoring power, authorities must address structural weaknesses and implement reforms to prevent future disruptions and strengthen confidence in Ghana's energy sector. This is where we end the business news, but before I go, a recap of our stories. City weekends as dollar hits 11 cities 85 pesos. Also Ghana confident as IMF final review begins, and Royal Gold Refinery pledges support for 24-hour economy drive. We came your way with these stories and many others from our studio here at number 6, Anyite Avenue, East Legon, Accra. For more news, you can log on to www.zedmultimedia.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Zed Multimedia. Thank you for listening. I am Ami Ifwa Kwechua. Nishrebi continues with the BBC.
You're tuned in to Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
And let me take you somewhere very familiar this morning. Now it's 5:30 p.m. I mean, not now. I'm just imagine with me. 5:30 p.m. at Circle Interchange. The workday is over. The energy in the city has changed, and of course, the rush has begun. People are tired, shirts slightly wrinkled, bags hanging loosely on shoulders, phones in hand, checking messages, calculating how long it will take to get home. And then you see it. The queue, the long, patient, and restless queue. Everyone is heading in one direction. Everyone is going to Kaswa. Just imagine that. Now, on a normal day, that trip costs around 10 cedis. But today is not a normal day. Traffic is already building up toward Awushi area, stretching into Malam. And drivers know what is coming. One trip could take twice as long, fuel will burn, and time will be lost. Then a mate steps forward and shouts, Kaswa, 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 15 cedis. You hear the murmurs. Everybody, some people complain quietly, some shake their heads, some check their wallet again. But here's what is interesting. Nobody leaves a queue. Within minutes, the car is full. No arguments, no negotiations, no alternatives. Because the reality is simple. Getting home is not optional. And waiting could be worse. Another 30 minutes, another car, possibly an even higher fare. By 7 p.m., that same trip could be 18 cedis. Same distance, same road, but different price. Now pause for a few minutes. Let's think about what just happened. Because in that one moment at Circle, we are not just looking at transport. We are looking at economics. We are looking at power and survival. All of that playing out in real time. Now, from the driver's perspective, the argument is clear. Traffic is heavy. I'll make fewer trips. Fuel consumption is higher. And I need to adjust. From the mate's perspective, plenty people, few cars, and its demand and supply. From the commuter's perspective, there is no theory. There's only reality. I need to get home. And that is where the tension sits. Because what looks like a simple fare increase is actually a deeper question. Is this basic economics or this is exploitation? Now let's bring in a bit of perspective. Now in cities like Accra, we all know that public transport is largely informal. The trotro system, moves millions of people every single day. And in fact, in many African cities, informal transport systems account for over 70% of daily urban mobility. And so that is that. And that means that the majority of people depend on a system that is flexible, but also unpredictable. At the same time, we know that urban congestion is increasing. Accra is ranked among the cities with significant traffic delays, with commuters spending hours every week in traffic. Now, add the rising fuel cost, or add fuel cost to it, vehicle maintenance, and economic pressure on drivers. So when fares increase during peak hours, some argue that this is not exploitation. Some people say that, Charlie, this is survival, because that is what we can do. But let's look at the other side. For the average worker who is earning a modest income, transport is definitely not a luxury. It is a daily cost, a fixed necessity. And when that cost becomes unpredictable, rising at will outside any formal structures, it creates a lot of pressure, especially for low-income earners. Now imagine you live somewhere in Kaswa again, you're working somewhere in East Legon. And you're not earning as much, but you have to be moving from East Legon to Kaswa to East Legon every day. And the prices keep changing every now and then. Just imagine that. But that is exactly what happens to a lot of people. And like I said, especially low-income earners, they suffer. There's a lot of pressure on them. Because while the prices go up in real time, salaries do not. Salaries do not. Now, here is where it gets even more interesting. Officially, transport fares in Ghana are not supposed to change arbitrarily. They are typically adjusted through some negotiations involving transport unions and regulators. We all know that. And so there's supposed to be structure, there's supposed to be guidance, there's supposed to be oversight. But what we are seeing during peak hours is something else. the kind of informal real-time pricing system. No announcements, no approvals, just market pressure. And that creates a gray area, if you ask me. Because you begin to ask yourself that where exactly does regulation begin and where does it end? Is the system failing to control prices, or is the system simply unable to keep up with reality? And beyond regulation, there is a deeper issue, which is power. Because in that moment at Circle, when you need a car to get home, the commuter has very little of power. You cannot negotiate effectively, you cannot delay your journey indefinitely, and you cannot opt out. You either pay or you wait. And sometimes waiting costs even more. So again, we come back to the big question. Is peak hour pricing a necessary coping mechanism within a strained transport system? Or is it a practice that quietly deepens inequality? Because let's not ignore this. For someone taking one trip, maybe it's manageable. But for someone commuting daily, morning and evening, 5 days a week, those extra cedis add up week after week, month after month. And suddenly, transport is eating into income in ways that are not always visible, but very real. And so at the same time, we cannot ignore the drivers as well. They are also operating within pressure. Fuel prices fluctuate, traffic reduces productivity, vehicle maintenance is expensive. And so the question is not very simple. And that is why we're having this conversation today. And that is why this conversation matters. Because what we are seeing is not just about trotro fares. It's about how urban systems function under pressure. And about how markets behave when regulation is weak or slow. And it's about how everyday people absorb the cost of inefficiencies. It's also about whether there is a better way. Could structured pricing work in a system like ours? Should government enforce stricter controls, or would that create new problems? Could technology like digital ticketing maybe bring some transparency, or would it complicate an already informal system? And most importantly, who should carry the burden? Is it a driver? Is it a commuter, or the system itself? Now, these are not easy questions, but they are very necessary. And so this morning, we are not here to rush to conclusions. We are here to unpack. Our topic for the roundtable discussion this morning is peak hour transport pricing. Is it a survival strategy or an unfair exploitation? And we are going to be joined by an economist who happens to also be a legal practitioner. It's going to help us understand the logic behind the pricing, the demand and supply, and also help us understand or examine the regulatory side, the consumer protection, and what the law actually says. Because somewhere between economics and law is the everyday reality of the Ghanaian commuter. So if you have ever stood in that queue at Circle or maybe Medina or wherever, if you've ever paid more than you planned, if you've ever wondered whether the system is fair, then you want to stay with us for this conversation, because we're going to go deeper into it, go to understand exactly what happens and how important all of that is. And so please don't go anywhere. Stick and stay. We'll get into all of that when we get into our roundtable discussion. But you can engage us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. We're streaming live on both platforms. We're also on Instagram and X at ZFMGH. Please engage us and we'll read your messages for you. Also, you can send us a WhatsApp on 0544 321019. 0544 321019. Right, so that will be all for our business brief segment. We're going to get into transport today shortly, but we'll take a quick music break. When we return, Solomon Tetenate comes your way with transport today. Please don't go anywhere. Team Eternity Ghana. We're going to get into our Transport Today segment shortly. Solomon Tetenate is ready to bring us that. And let's get into that right away.
This is the pre-boarding announcement for flight 3728.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, thank you very much. Solomon Tetenate is seated and is ready to bring us Transport Today this morning. Solo, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Trebi.
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Everything
I'm good.
cool?
Yeah, by the grace of God.
How are you able to wake up to get to work this morning?
It's not easy, you know. It's not even just about the waking up, but even getting car to come this morning is very, hectic.
And I know there'll be a lot of traffic.
A lot of traffic.
All right, tell us what you have for us.
All right, so it's time for Transport Today, and I'm taking you through the local flight schedules for today. We also look at the traffic situation in town and also some stories actually trending in the aviation sector this morning. So let's start with the flight schedules, and I mean the local flight schedules for today. And I'm starting with Passion Air, Accra to Kumasi Passion Air. So Accra to Kumasi morning flights are 6:20 a.m., 8:50 a.m. and 11:20 a.m. And then afternoon flights are 1:50 p.m. and 4:20 p.m., 1:50 p.m. and 4:20 p.m. And then the evening flight is at 7:20 p.m. It takes 40 minutes to get to your destination. Now Accra to Takoradi Passion Air morning flight is at 6:20 a.m. and then afternoon flight is at 4:20 p.m. Morning flight 6:20 a.m. and then afternoon flight is at 4:20 p.m. and it takes 50 minutes to get to your destination. Now Accra to Sunyane Passion Air has only one flight available for the day at 9:10 a.m. and it takes 1 hour to get to your destination. Accra to Wa also has only one flight available for the day at 9:50 a.m. and it takes 1 hour 40 minutes to get to your destination. Now Accra to Tamale Passion Air Accra to Tamale morning flight is at 6 a.m. and then afternoon flight at 12:20 p.m. and 4 p.m. morning flight 6 a.m. and then afternoon flight are 12:20 p.m. and 4 p.m. and it takes 1 hour 20 minutes to get to your destination. So that's all for Passion Air. Now let's look at Africa World Airlines, how their schedule also looks like today. So Africa World Airlines Accra to Kumasi morning flight 6:20 a.m. and 8:40 a.m. 6:20 a.m. and 8:40 a.m. and then afternoon flights are 2:20 p.m. and 4:40 p.m. 2:20 p.m. and 4:40 p.m. and then the evening flight is at 7 p.m. and it takes 40 minutes to get to your destination. Now Accra to Takoradi Africa World Airlines morning flight is at 6:40 a.m. and then afternoon flight 2:10 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. morning flight 6:40 a.m. and then afternoon flight for Accra to Takoradi 2:10 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. It takes 40 minutes as well to get to your destination. Now Accra to Tamale Africa World Airlines Accra to Tamale morning flights are 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and then afternoon flights are 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. and it takes 1 hour to get to your destination. So that's the traffic update for you today. The flight schedules for you today. Now let's look at the traffic update for you today. And today I'm coming to you from Achimota. Currently there's traffic spotted at Achimota Melcombe branch, so you should take note of that. If you are using the main road, and that's the Kumasi highway, you are going to experience traffic at where the Melcombe is located at Achimota, and so you should take note of that if you are using that stretch. And also there's traffic spotted at North Jolu at where the National Petroleum Authority is located. There's traffic spotted on the stretch. If you are from La Paz, coming to Airport Junction, you are going to experience traffic around North Jolu, where the National Petroleum Authority is located. So you should take note of that. And also, Legon Bypass Road is very busy at the moment. Legon Bypass Road is very, very busy at the moment. So you should also take note of that if you are using that route at the moment. So that's the traffic update for you around North Jolu. Now coming to Accra Mall, there's traffic right from Accra Mall past Shangri-La to Airport first. So you should take note of that. If you are using the Liberation Road, you are going to experience traffic right from Accra Mall to Airport Junction. So that's the traffic update for you on the Liberation Road. Airport Bypass Road is also very busy at the moment. Very, very busy at the moment. So you should also take note of that. If you are from Spintex, right from where the China Mall Airport branch is located, past the Polo Height all the way, or Polo Club restaurant all the way to where the Marina Mall is located at the airport. There's traffic on the stretch, so you should take note of that if you are using the Airport Bypass Road. So that's the traffic update for you around airports. Now coming to the North Ridge, there's traffic spotted on the Independence Avenue at North Ridge, right from the Ghana Immigration Service headquarters past the Zenith Bank head office, past MTN Ghana to Ridge Roundabout. There's traffic on the stretch, so you should take note of that. If you are using the Independence Avenue, you are going to experience massive traffic on the stretch at the moment. So that will be all for the traffic update. Now let's look at some stories trending in the aviation sector this morning. So AINA, Spain state-run airport operator, posted a remarkable 9% increase in its net profit, reaching 329.4 million euros. This surge is primarily attributed to a robust recovery in airport traffic, with a significant uptick in passenger volumes across Spain's major airports, and the company's continued focus on expanding its capacity alongside rising demand in tourism and air travel has placed AINA at the forefront of Europe's aviation industry. The figures for Q1 2026 clearly reflect the ongoing resurgence of air travel and Spain's economic recovery. And so that's coming from the AINA, and that's Spain state-run airport operator. And also, Malaysia Airlines has introduced a striking new aircraft designed inspired by the iconic cricket franchise Mumbai Indians, and the visually dynamic livery painted on Airbus A330-300 signals a powerful convergence of aviation, sport passion, and tourism strategy at a time when airlines are battling with global uncertainty. The newly reviewed aircraft is not just a visual spectacle, but a calculated step to strengthen the airline's footprint in one of the world's fastest growing travel market. And so these are the stories trending in the aviation sector this morning. And thank you, Nitra Bihamon, for having me.
All right, thank you very much, Solomon Tetenati, for bringing us transport today this morning. The show continues. This is the Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nitra Bihamon. Thank you very much for staying with us right until now. We're going to get into a market trend. Please don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick music break. When we return, we bring you market trends with Emmanuel Boateng, our in-house economist. Please don't go anywhere. right, welcome back to the Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM. Now, that was Afro Praise Medley by Team Eternity Gun. I'm going to play you that song again, don't worry. But I've got some good news for you this morning. If you're ready to step into your dream home, then Lakeside Estates has got an exclusive offer for you. With this offer, you can own your own house in just 2 years with no interest repayment. Yes, you heard me right. You can own your own house in just 2 years with no interest repayments. And this offer gives you affordable payments, flexible home purchase plan, quality homes and lifestyle choice, and you get to choose from a variety of beautiful homes in any of Lakeside Hills clusters. And so your future awaits. Just imagine living in a home you love with the freedom to invest in your dreams without the burden of interest. So CIMG Real Estate Company of the Year for the 4th time, we offer you hassle-free home acquisition, and all you have to do is to call us today on 020-477-5042, 020-477-5042, or 020-477-5040, 020-477-5040, or 050-1418-622, 050-1418-622. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Call us now to learn more and schedule a tour of our available homes. Lakeside Estate, we say quality home for all. All right, so we're going to get into our market trend segment shortly, but continue enjoying this and we will be right back. market trend segment shortly, but I have some birthday wishes I want to do this morning. First of all, happy birthday going out to Mama Doris, and this is from your daughters Priscilla and Christabel. They say that may God bless you so much. Happy birthday to you, Mommy. This is also for myself, to you. God bless you so much for being an amazing woman in their lives as well. And so God bless you so much, Mama Doris. We love you so much. God bless you. Yes, I keep saying God bless you, but that is what exactly it says. God bless you so much. Also, happy birthday going out to Lady Priscilla Asantewa. Wish you good life, abundant prosperity, and happiness. May God bless you for the impact you're making. And this is from Solomon Tetenati to you, Lady Priscilla Asantoa. God bless you so much, Lady Priscilla. Yes, and also from us here at Zed, God bless you. Also, happy birthday going out to... okay, all right, let me save that one for later. I will check that later, and then we will do that one. But anyway, we're getting into our market trend segment this morning. We're going to look at the commodities market, and this morning we're touching on a very important commodity, which is gold. Now, gold prices are showing signs of hesitation. I mean, after a very strong rally we've seen in the past few weeks, it's slipped slightly in the past week to around $4,700 per ounce. But this is not a simple decline. It's a market caught between two powerful forces. On one hand, easing tensions between the US and Iran are reducing the immediate panic, lowering a demand for safe haven assets like gold. Now, on the other hand, uncertainty around inflation, energy prices, and global interest rates also remain high. And so that is keeping investors quite cautious. So we're asking whether this is the beginning of a broader decline, or just a temporary pause in gold's strong upward run. And what do these movements even mean for economies like Ghana that rely heavily on gold exports? And so that's what we are breaking down with Emmanuel Boating, our in-house economic analyst, this morning. Ima, good morning.
Good morning, Itrabi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm well too, by God's grace. Thank you very much for making time. You sound very calm this morning. Is it because of the weather?
No, it's because I had a birthday wish, and I don't know what Solomon's thing was doing there.
Why can't Solomon wish anybody a happy birthday?
I didn't say he can't, because I want to know. Okay, well, anyway.
All right, anyway, let's get into the conversation.
Let me hold my peace.
You have to. All right, so maybe first of all, what is driving the recent drop in gold prices, despite the performance we saw a few months ago?
Thank you very much. It appears we are always talking about commodities, and that's quite interesting. I think, good morning to our cherished listeners. More to it. We are seeing a dip in gold prices. Some way, somehow, I am happy because there's something I want to do. It borders around gold, so as the prices come down, I'm sure you understand what I mean. Personally, it gets better for me, Yeah. But the recent dip we are seeing is largely driven by market correction rather than a reversal of the broader trend. After we saw that sustained upward movement in the prices of gold, that sustained rally where prices moved up nearly 40% year on year. In fact, gold hit an all-time high, amongst other things. When such rallies do happen, markets often experience pullbacks because investors will typically reassess their positions. And that explains why we see these kinds of corrections, which are healthy and reflect normal market dynamics rather than a loss of value in the asset itself. In the very case we are referring to this morning, I think the immediate trigger has been a shift in geopolitical sentiment. There were reports of easing tensions between the United States and Iran, and that reduced the urgency for investors to hold safe haven assets like gold, because you go to gold as your safe haven. The Bible says the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous run to it, and they are saved. That is your safety net, and that is why you go there. Just that, unlike for the name of the Lord, where you have to be there every time, as for gold, it is when troubles abound that you go to gold. So you go to gold to protect you, to preserve your wealth. And that is really what it is there for. And so, neither if you are going to go to gold when there is geopolitical tension, and you have heard that the tensions are no more, would you still be with gold? Certainly not. Because it is much more difficult to convert gold into liquidity, to trade with, amongst other things. And so you can understand what was happening. And investors are increasingly locked in on upcoming decisions by major central banks around the world, particularly decisions on interest rates, among other things, And that expectation that rates may remain elevated puts some downward pressure on gold prices. Because if the interest rates are going to go high, then investors are going to abandon gold and they are going to invest in some other financial assets. So the drop is not about weakness in gold fundamentals. I don't know what can weaken the fundamentals of gold anyway, but that is not what the drop is reflecting. I think it's a reflection of a rebalancing of short-term sentiments against a strong, long-term outlook of gold.
I see. Right, so rebalancing of sentiments. Okay, that's. But how significant is profit taking in explaining this pullback we're seeing?
Well, profit taking is an important factor. We cannot leave that behind. When an asset experiences a strong rally, typically early investors often begin to lock in gains. And how do they lock in their gains? You can only lock in your gains when you sell your position. When you sell portions of your holding. And this selling pressure can push prices down, even if the underlying outlook remains positive. What I mean is comparable to what we saw on the Ghana Stock Exchange quite recently. There was a bullish run, I think, in February and some parts of March. And you saw that the investors were just selling their positions. And so the later part of March, the market turned bearish because profit-taking was happening so fast. And that is exactly what we are seeing with gold. And it is very, very typical of investors, When they, if you have an investment in a commodity, in an equity and the likes, and you realize the prices keep going up and up and up, as they say, that is the best time to sell, all other things being equal. And that is the best time for you to lock in the gains you may have made. Because you do not realize your capital gains unless you sell your position. That is what it is. And that is what we have seen. And that selling pressure, tends to put a downward pressure on the prices of gold. So given the nearly 40% year-on-year increase, I think it is reasonable that institutional investors and hedge funds are trimming their positions down. These are not panic sales. They are strategic decisions to secure returns after a very strong run. And I must also say that profit taking also tends to be clustered. Once a few large players begin to exit, others follow, and that amplifies the downward movement in the short term. And that creates the impression of a broader shift, even when it is largely technical. Most importantly, profit-taking does not signal a loss of confidence.
Okay.
In fact, it often resets the market, allowing new investors like me to enter at slightly lower prices and potentially support the next phase of growth. And that's why I'm saying that it has not even fallen enough for me.
For you wish it would drop a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot more than I can even imagine. So that, mere mortals like us can also enter into the market.
All right. Okay. But how, to what extent also is the easing of the U.S. Iran tensions influencing investor behavior in the market?
Well, thank you very much. That's a very important question. You know, geopolitics and geopolitical tensions typically play a very important role in gold pricing. And the easing of tensions between the United States and Iran has had a noticeable impact. You see, the truth is that gold thrives on uncertainty, particularly when there are fears of conflict affecting global energy supplies or trade routes. And that is why in the literature, investors typically run to gold when there are geopolitical tensions. And it is abundantly clear. There is no scintilla of doubt about it. Any student of geopolitics, any student of economic uncertainty, any student of safe haven assets understand this narrative very well. Now, Nitra, you see, recent diplomatic signals, which includes discussions around reducing tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, among other things, have slightly lowered the perceived risk of disruption. In fact, I think yesterday or on Monday, I saw President Trump tweet that Iran wants to come back to business fully, amongst other things, and the Strait of Hormuz will be fully open. To just highlight the point he was making. That reduces the perceived risk of disruption. And when that happens, the general risk level in other assets, other financial assets related to gold, you see, then the real implication, what do you see? What we see is that the immediate need for investors to seek safety in gold reduces. Because the reason why you need safety, there is nothing chasing you. There is no gorilla after you. There is no lion after your heels. There is no snake or serpent to strike you. And certainly, there is no basis whatsoever to lock in your funds in gold. You rather look at other financial assets. Let us not forget, gold is not as liquid as T-bill. It's not as liquid as equity even. It's not as liquid as bond.
Right.
If you have gold and you want to sell your gold, for you to even be matched to a buyer is not so easy. You get the point. So these are the reasons, because I'm sure somebody will be thinking, then why don't we just invest in gold and not these other financial assets? That is also complex. Maybe we will need some time, some other time, to have discussions on some of these issues.
That, right.
The point is that once the perceived risk is eliminated or mitigated to a very large extent, what we do see is that the need, the desire to hold your value in gold reduces. And once that happens, you can understand why gold prices will fall. But the influence is limited. And I believe the situation remains fragile, and markets are aware that geopolitical risk can escalate quickly. So because of that, while prices have dipped, they have not collapsed. Investors are cautious rather than complacent. So the easing of tensions has softened demand at the margin, but it has not fundamentally altered gold's role as a hedge against geopolitical risk.
I see, but why does gold typically rise during uncertainty, and why is it reacting differently at this point?
Oh, thank you very much. Gold is traditionally seen as a safe haven asset, as I've explained earlier, because it retains value during periods of economic or geopolitical instability and uncertainty.
Okay.
That is maybe it's a very important quality of gold. Unlike currencies, unlike equity markets, it is not tied to the performance of a single economy or institution. What do I mean by that? Our equity market is booming because the economy is booming. Let the economy take a reverse position or direction. The equity market will also do so. Our currency is strong. In fact, I've even been told over the past 2 weeks it has even been depreciating based on the data, of course. Your currency is stable and strong now because the economy is strong. I'm sure you remember when the economy was not as strong as now.
Yeah.
The appearance and image the currency gave us. not too good. But gold is not like that. It doesn't increase or decrease in value because of how Ghana's economy is doing, because of how the U.S. economy. No. That is not gold. Precious metal, very important commodity. It is not tied to the performance of a single economy or institution. During times of crisis, investors typically move their funds into gold so that they can preserve their wealth. And that drives the prices of gold upwards. And even if you don't know the literature around this, it has been very evident in recent years. COVID-19, gold prices was going up. Russia, Ukraine, gold prices was going up, And of course, Iran, U.S., Israel, conflict. We also saw gold prices even hitting an all-time high. So somebody will say that, then geopolitical tensions are good for gold prices to set. I'm sure you may also be thinking same.
Yeah.
So if Ghana truly wants to benefit from gold, then Ghana should instigate countries to fight. Oh my, but that is not a good idea. And that is not how things work here. So that is really the point. In times of crisis, gold shows up. And it is because investors will demand more of gold, and that will move the prices up. You see?
Yeah.
And gold certainly will benefit from global uncertainty. It benefits from inflation concerns. I've also said that gold protects you against inflation concerns. And that's why if you are an investor listening to me today, it's always important to have gold in your portfolio, to have gold as part of the fund you hold. You can, it will hedge against inflation as much as it hedges against global economic uncertainty, which could be caused by geopolitical tensions. What makes this current situation different is the presence of mixed signals. So yes, there are long-term risks, short-term developments, such as diplomatic progress, among others, are reducing the immediate fear. And that creates a push and pull dynamic in the pricing. And of course, over time, the equilibrium price will be set. So rather than reacting in a single direction, I think gold is responding to competing forces. And the result is a more volatile but ultimately balanced movement. But for me, my wish and desire, I will not hide it, is for the price to even fall further.
I see. Right. But how do expectations around interest rates from maybe major central banks affect the prices of gold? Because I know that they also have some influence in there.
Well, thank you. I think we may have brushed a bit around it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that briefly.
Yeah. But like I did say earlier, interest rates are one of the most important drivers of gold prices. You see, when rates are high, investors can earn returns from interest-bearing assets, such as bonds. And when investors are earning so much from bonds, permit me to say, who really cares about what gold brings to the table? Because the situation is that gold pays no yield. What that means is that it doesn't give you any interest. And so it is less attractive in such times. Have you ever heard that, we bought some gold and the interest rate on the gold is 10%? Hey, my brother, that will be very, very untrue. Gold does not pay interest. You only benefit when the price goes up. And you, in fact, sell it. It protects you against inflation. When all those storms in the financial markets abound, gold is your anchor. It is your anchor. It shields you from inflation. It shields you from geopolitical tension. It shields you from the depreciation of your currency, among others. So gold is that your anchor that holds you in place. Currently, major central banks are signaling that interest rates may remain higher for longer due to persistent inflation concerns. And that will shift the preference of investors towards assets that generate income, and that reduces demand for gold. There is also a currency effect. Trust me, Nipedi, it is abundantly clear that higher interest rates often strengthen the US dollar, which makes gold more expensive for international buyers like you and I. And that will further reduce the demand for gold. So even as geopolitical risks support gold, interest rate expectations are acting as a counterweight, and that limits how far prices can rise.
Right. Now, you also spoke about inflation. You know, we all know that inflation is still a concern. Why isn't gold? Why isn't gold continuing to rise more strongly in such a situation? Because I know that when inflation is strong, is a concern like that. That is what happens. The gold will continue to rise, but it is not. It is not rising as much.
You mean inflation in Ghana?
Oh no, I mean
in the world.
In the world, global inflation.
Global inflation, I don't think it's not rising as much. But
no,
anyway,
I'm talking about gold not rising more strongly.
Okay. Okay, I'll explain that. We know gold is often used as a hedge against inflation. But naturally, the relationship between inflation and gold is not always straightforward. What matters more is real interest rate, the difference between nominal interest rates and inflation. That is the most important thing. If inflation is high, but interest rates are even higher, real returns on financial assets remain positive, and that will reduce the need for gold as a hedge. I don't know if you get the point. So the nominal interest rate is also important because you need the nominal interest rate to be higher than inflation for your real returns to be positive. So let me be a bit calm. Real returns, right, is important for you to determine whether or not there will be, for you to determine whether or not gold will be attractive, in simple terms. For you to get your real returns, you have to subtract inflation from your nominal interest rate. Now, if inflation is higher than nominal interest rate, then your real returns will be negative. And once your real return is negative, then inflation is acting here. And so investors will move away from interest-bearing assets and go for gold. But in situations where your inflation trends lower than your nominal interest rate, then your real returns is going to be positive. And that makes interest or yield-bearing assets more attractive, such as bonds. And once those assets are more attractive, investors will dampen their need for gold. And that is why I'm saying that yes, inflation is important, but the relationship between inflation and gold is not straightforward. You can see the pass-through in real interest rates, of course, nominal interest rates. And that is why I'm saying if inflation is high, but interest rates are even higher, then your real returns on financial assets remains positive, and that will reduce the need for gold as a hedge. Because what is it really going to hedge? There's nothing to hedge, because the outlook is positive. The difference is positive. The real return is positive. And this appears to be part of the current dynamic. In addition to that, financial markets typically tend to price in inflation expectations ahead of time. That is part of the pricing. Much of the recent rise in gold may have already reflected, anticipated inflation risks. So despite ongoing inflation concerns, the presence of relatively high interest rates is preventing gold from rallying further in the short term.
I see. All right, our time is almost up, and so we'll touch on a few other things and then we can go. Now, maybe just to help investors, how should they interpret the mix of the short-term declines and the long-term gains? How should they interpret that?
Well, they should look at the bigger picture. And that I mean that they should view the current movement as part of a broader cycle rather than an isolated event.
Okay.
You see, short-term volatility is normal. You need volatility in the markets. Yeah, it needs to be. How do you enjoy life without drama? Sometimes the drama that keeps you going. That is really what the point is. So short-term volatility is normal, especially in a market that is influenced by multiple global factors. For our investors, the key is to draw the clear distinction between noise and trend. Noise and trend. Differentiate the two. So while daily or weekly price movements may fluctuate, may be volatile, the long-term trajectory remains upward, supported by structural factors. And that kind of environment favors a balanced approach. Investors may use dips as entry points while maintaining a long-term perspective on gold's role as a hedge.
Okay.
Ultimately, the current mix of signals reinforces the need for diversification and strategic positioning rather than reactive decision making.
Right. As you spoke about diversification for investors, what just came to mind is even our, we as a country, I'm talking about Ghana generally. We know that we depend so much on gold exports, and that has been like the strongest commodity we are trading. What are the implications of these price movements for our exports earnings and our trade balance?
Well, gold is Ghana's largest export. So the price of gold and, of course, its movement have a direct impact on export earnings. Even with the recent dip, the prices remain significantly higher than what we knew of, a year ago, which is positive for the country's external sector. Higher gold prices translate into increased foreign exchange inflows for Ghana, and that supports the trade balance and strengthens our international reserves. This can also help to stabilize the currency and improve our macroeconomic confidence. But there is always a but, Volatility introduces uncertainty. If prices fluctuate widely, it becomes more difficult for policymakers to plan and manage revenue expectations. So overall, the current situation remains favorable for Ghana, but it highlights the importance of managing commodity dependence and building resilience.
I see. So looking ahead, maybe finally, what key global signals should we watch to determine the direction of gold prices generally?
Well, thank you. I think so far the conversation has shown us that geopolitical development matters, particularly in the Middle East. Any escalating or de-escalation will have immediate effect on safe haven demand for gold. The second is interest rates, and so subsequently that means that central bank policy. So number one, geopolitical development. Number two, because of interest rates, yes, central bank policy. Decisions by institutions like the Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan, I'm mentioning big wigs. Of course, you can, if you like, you can add Bank of Ghana. That's okay. That will influence interest rate expectations and investor, behavior. So these two are critical. But in addition to that, we can also look at inflation and energy prices. Persistent inflation or rising oil prices could renew demand for gold as a hedge, like we saw during the Iran-Israel conflict. Maybe finally, global economic growth. The trend with respect to global economic growth will matter. Slower growth or recession risks typically would increase demand for safe assets. And so, together, I think that these factors will determine whether gold will resume its upward momentum or enter a more prolonged consolidation phase. Geopolitical development, central bank decisions, inflation and energy prices, global economic growth trends. So these are the major factors that would determine the direction of gold prices.
I see. All right, Ima, thank you very much for your time this morning. Thanks for also sharing your insights with us. We're really grateful. Hopefully, we can look at some other matters tomorrow.
You are welcome.
All right.
Solo.
You will hear, definitely. All right. Thank you very much. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
All right. So that was Emmanuel Boateng, our in-house economic analyst, and he was sharing with us on gold prices. We're seeing a decline in gold prices, and he says that it's largely because of certain factors, but of course, including the Russia and Ukraine. Sorry, that's the Russia, Ukraine, the US and Iran tensions, and so that's one of the things that is actually fueling that. Yes, if you miss any parts of the conversation, you can visit our social media platforms. We're on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please do all to visit those platforms and go and play that back. But the show continues. This is the Business Breakfast on Z 101.9 FM. Very soon, we're going to begin our roundtable discussion. And today, we're talking about the peak hour pricing. Yes, what exactly happens on our roads when people close from work and all of that, because they are called peak hours. You know, people actually charge, or meet drivers and all of those people, they charge more than necessary, and sometimes it's a problem, you know. But we're discussing that broadly, looking at the economic implications. Who exactly should even bear the cost of all of these things? Is it the drivers? Is it the commuters? Is it the systems? And that's what we're talking about. So we'll take a quick music break. When we return, my guest joins me for this conversation. Please don't go anywhere.
Is it okay if we take it to Nigeria tonight?
Welcome to Zed Multimedia Online. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials on TikTok at Zed Multimedia, LinkedIn at Zed Multimedia, YouTube, Zed TV, IDX, and Facebook at ZFMGH. Do enjoy this video.
This is from our homes, but we rarely question deeply. We're talking this morning about peak hour transport pricing. Now, fares go up, demand is high, traffic is heavy, and the same journey suddenly costs more than it did a few hours earlier, or even in the morning before you were on your way to work. So the question is simple: is this a survival strategy by transport operators, or a form of unfair exploitation for commuters who have no real choice? And so we're breaking that down from both an economic and a legal perspective with our guest this morning. My guest is Dr. Daniel Enim Prempe. He is a lawyer, and he's a private legal practitioner and also an economist. And so he joins me over the phone lines for this conversation. Counsel, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
By God's grace, I'm doing very well.
We thank God. Thanks so much for making time to join us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
All right, so let's get into our conversation. So, of course, we're looking at the economic part and then the legal part. So we'll start with the economic aspect of the whole thing, and then we come down. But first of all, let's begin from, what many of us experienced just a few days ago. Solomon, my colleague, came to share with me how people, how people had to struggle to get cars to their various destinations because prices were up. From your perspective, when people actually get to the bus stop or the bus station and the prices go up suddenly just because it's peak time, what exactly is happening in that moment?
Right. Thank you very much. The general principle is that anytime the transport union intend to increase prices, they have to inform the public so that once the person is leaving home, is aware that today the price have gone up, and then the person will prepare accordingly. So that is in the spirit of equity and fairness, okay, that ought to be done. Just like you described in the intro, the reality on the ground is that, especially I think Mondays and some other times where during the peak, once the transport owners realize that a lot of people at the bus stop without vehicles around for them to be able to commute to their various destinations and offices, they take advantage of the situation, and in a basic demand sense, once there's a high demand for transport and the supply is less, then they take advantage to increase the fare, which is unfair on the part of commuters, because they ought to have been informed so that they can prepare accordingly. That is one leg of it. There's another leg that normally happens in the evening that we have done. A friend of mine has done some study and informed me accordingly that it is also in the evenings. And if you recall, traffic in Accra is one way. This morning, all of us, we are commuting from our various homes to the Central Business Center largely.
Yeah.
In the evening, it's the same traffic that goes back home. Now, so in the evening, the traffic is also intense, and then the number of people wanted to commute from the Accra Business Center and the other strategic areas in the city to their various destinations struggle to get vehicles. And transport operators also take advantage to increase the fare. According to him, the reason some of them offered is that some of them, so for instance, let's use an empirical example. Maybe a trotro driver moving from Accra to, let's say, Dodowa. And because he doesn't stay at Dodowa, so when he gets there at that night, he has to come. And when he's returning, okay, in the evening, he will also struggle to get passengers to be able to make up for the fuel consumption. So because of that, they do increase. They put something small on top to be able to accommodate for that loss when they are returning, which in economic sense, it's quite reasonable in that particular respect. But the point is that anytime transport operators wanted to increase the fare, they ought to inform the people. One of the things that is also real is that they announce it, that look, I am today or in the evening when I'm moving from Spinters to, let's say, Medina, and the rate is, let's say, 10 Ghana cedis or whatever, they'll tell you 12 cedis or 15, because if you are ready, you have to, and some of these things is quite unfair to the commuters, to the citizens, because the transport owners ought to operate by the set prices that is announced by the union. Okay. But there again, this is just a signal telling us something, that there's a systemic failure in the country in terms of government inability to provide efficient public transport system.
Right. In fact, we're going to come there so that you can break that also down for us. Now, so are you saying that the peaker pricing is a rational response to demand and supply? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, certainly so. Because if you observe, and then maybe you can conduct a further research, in the afternoon, where we are all in our offices, a lot of people, those who left home are done, even the traders, come to Accra, Bogoloshi, and the rest, purchase their product and return home. So in the afternoon, you will see less of these transport owners. Okay, so even if you are at the bus stop, they will be insisting, even when you are standing at a distance, they may even presume you wanted to go stop and be calling you. So in the afternoon, they also don't make a lot of sales. So their strategy economically, from economic perspective, is that, look, in the morning, that is where we also get the passengers. So let's deal with them and get our share. In the evening, that is where we get them. In the afternoon, they also can play their role. So from economic perspective, here we are not looking at the legal aspect of it, but from a pure economic perspective, it is quite reasonable. So for example, I operate a shop and I'm selling a particular product and there's a shortage, and I realize that there's a shortage in the system. When you come, I increase the price. So operating purely from the law of demand and supply, that is quite reasonable. But just like you've asked, in terms of the legally, that is not, because there's a set price that you need to operate with, whether the demand is high or not. Once you have increased the price above what has been agreed by the parties, then that becomes an illegality. Okay, so in the realm of the law, then that is an illegality. But from a pure economic perspective, that is reasonable, to say.
Well, from what I know, in a textbook market, higher prices actually attract more supply. Does that actually happen here, or are we dealing with a system where supply is too fixed to respond?
If you look at the scenario, okay, just like you indicated, the basic law of demand is that at a higher price, less is demanded, and at a lower price, more is demanded. But there's an exception to the law. It is a general law.
Okay.
The exception is that if the commodity you are consuming is inelastic, okay, inelastic in the sense that you don't have a substitute. So I am coming from maybe Adenta to Accra, and I need to pick a transport, and you are at the bus stop for the next an hour. No vehicle is coming. One just landed and is saying that, look, let's assume if the price is 15 cedis and he's saying that it's taking, let's say, 18 cedis. You have no choice because you want to arrive on time and transact some business. Okay, so that becomes an exception to the law.
To the law.
Another exception is that probably, you may even have a normal bus that is at the bus stop, but probably this vehicle has come and there's AC inside. It is nice, and you think that, you prefer that one, and the price of that one is higher. So that becomes an exception. In this context, it is because we have less transport, available to commute people at any point in time. And that's if you go to other jurisdictions and other countries, they have the tram running. They have the train supporting before they have the buses to complement that effort. Unfortunately, in this part of our world, it is largely dependent on private transport operators. And that's the reason which it appears. And some of them to also deliberately create the transport owners. The vehicles are there, but they'll tell you they are not going, just to create that demand so that they can take advantage of the situation. Okay, that is also there that they'll be doing. When they say, we are not going to Accra. we are only going to, let's say, whatever, Medina, or we are not. And when they realize that the commuters are anxious and they are willing to pay extra, then they will say, oh, then we can now go. It is unfair, but there again, in the realm of pure economics and business, they wanted to take advantage of the situation and exploit commuters.
Right.
So that is the situation.
Now, you talk about our transport system. So are you saying that it's not an efficient market?
Please come again.
I'm asking if an efficient market, our transport system in Ghana, or maybe in Accra specifically.
Yes. Look, when we are planning a city, you look at where the population is dense and you plan it accordingly. Look, if you recall, when they introduced the Metroman system and the Ayalolo, all in an effort to support the transport system, government effort to support, but it has not been that efficient. Okay, it's not been that efficient, so government has to invest more, and then we also find a way of ensuring that they provide transport mechanism that can move on time. In other jurisdictions, they know if you are at the bus stop 6, a bus will be there, you pick it, and by 30 minutes you are at wherever you're going.
Yeah.
But in this instance, we have more private transport operators as against that of the state. Okay, and even what we have, woefully inadequate to complement the effort of the transport owners. So definitely the transport owners will take advantage to and then exploit the citizens. So there again, I would say, without mincing words, that this is a systemic failure over the years. The city is growing, no deliberate plan from government over the years to support commitment and the movement of people from one point and another. And that is the reason why productivity is low. It's another factor. Because a person leaves home, maybe by 6 is at a bus stop, it takes another 1 hour to get a vehicle. Sit in traffic for the next 2 hours or so. By the time you get to work, we are already tired.
Yeah.
Okay. So that early morning energy that will help contribute to productivity, you don't have it. You are running to return very early because you don't want to experience same when you are going home. So you see people leaving offices very early, especially if you go to the ministries at certain hours of the day, except those who are in the private sector, they don't have choice. Okay. So these are systemic issues that ought to be addressed with all the energy and the seriousness that it deserves, okay? And our road network also has to be reconsidered, okay? So these are some of the things that, ought to be done by the state, by the government, okay? And if that is done, private operators, vehicle operators or transport operators will not take undue advantage of people. So apart from the fact that they are paying more, which is another factor, the second issue is have to do with the time lost and the energy and how it affects productivity. When people are going home, you queue at the bus stop for hours before you get a vehicle, okay? And if we have efficient transport system, you don't even when you are driving, you don't need to drive every day to work because you only get to the bus stop, pick a nice public transport and you get home. So energy consumption is reserved. With your limited income, you are able to live, a normal life, and everybody will find. That jurisdiction. Because they have the train system working. I was in Tokyo years ago, and then at the car park, there's no car. There's rather a bicycle park. People drive bicycle to the train station and pick a train and go wherever they go. And I'll be asking them, a car manufacturing country. I've not seen much cars on your street, just like I've seen it in Accra. We don't manufacture any car. Okay, but they have designed the system to be so efficient, to minimize the consumption of fuel. Number two, to increase productivity, to minimize time loss, and also that flexibility. You can move anywhere and come at home and plan your time accordingly. But that is an efficient system that contributes to productivity. Unfortunately, we don't have it here, and this is what we should be thinking as a nation, especially in the capital cities, maybe Accra and then Kumasi, Accra specifically, that is it. The last time I was coming from Adam, we spent so much traffic from the Central University area there to the how do you call it, Ashama roundabout, before another one from the Ashama roundabout to the to Tetekwashi because of the motorway extension, especially the one from Central University, the Dohwenya Street, intense. Okay, So these are some of the things that ought to be considered, and we should provide alternative, to ensure that we enhance productivity. Okay, so that is what the government should be considering as a serious project.
Right.
Okay.
So that is in terms of infrastructure. You also spoke about the vehicles. How about regulations? Do you think that that's also a key constraint?
Look, if you have a regulation, I tell people you can have nice laws, and if you don't take practical steps, the laws will be useless. I mean, quote and unquote. That is it. If you are regulating the sector and there's no alternative to compete with the private sector, you don't have a road network to ensure a smooth movement of people and goods from one point to the other. You have nice law in the paper. I mean, it's useless. I mean, let's be frank with it. So it's about taking practical steps. So if you recall, at the time when President Kufuor introduced this Metro Mans thing, a lot of people hailed it, and there was even a suggestion that a lane, one particular lane, should be reserved for the Metro Mans people. Just like when you go to other jurisdictions, a lane is reserved for these ambulances and the rest for the sake of emergency. And I recall, they have demarcated a lane written bus lane or something like that, but we don't have it. Some of the buses are also old. But recently I've heard that government is making plans or has procure more buses. But it must go with a road network mechanism. Okay, to ensure smooth passage of goods and services. If that is not done, and then in fact productivity will remain low, and then they will say people are not willing. That people are not willing to work because the energy you exert at the bus stop. And unfortunately, that's why our big men, when they are driving the Land Cruisers, I am not against that, but because of the protocol we extend to them, whether there's traffic or not, they find a way of getting to offices on time. But the focus should be on the masses because they largely contribute to overall growth of the economy, and that is what we should be considering. So this topic we are discussing, I think it's a very progressive one, and I'm grateful that you people are analyzing it. And these are some of the things that ought to be big. Because unfortunately, some of them too, when they close again, they don't know what happens in the city. At times, I don't blame them; they don't really know. So they are unable to tell whether street lights are working. They are unable to tell how people struggle to get home. So once stations like your type is running this thing, I think it will inform them about the situation, the reality on the ground. And when we are planning, we should plan very well to be. Last I heard from somebody was saying that, Accra is choking the rest, and I laughed. I said it is because of the poor planning. Look, National Development Planning Commission did some work before, and they said that Pampram can accommodate about 2 million people more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if it is properly planned. And we can relocate even the ministries. Some of them from here to the Sagam area, the Tripoli area, the new development can expand that lane, 12 lanes, even if you don't have money to do the train. To the extent that they have a plan to have underground, that area is an airport extension. And on paper is to have an underground train that will connect to Kotoka. So if I land over there, if you are able to do that, I will not even use the road. Underground train that will connect me to Kotoka, and then I'll exit into the city. Nice plans on paper, but it's about execution. Look, even if you look at it, is only Accra Central that is choked. Those who know Accra very well, where I stay, Dodowa and Oyibi straight over there. If it is well planned, can accommodate more people, and we'll have exit routes. So if I am going to Tema, I don't need to drive all the way to, there's another way from Dodowa that you connect to Afienya if you are going to Adam. But it is not good. So anytime I'm going to Adam, you have to drive all the way through Ashama without traffic or come to Accra and hit the motorway. Okay, but those lanes were there from colonial era. But it's about making sure that they are motorable for people to access that particular road. Okay, and of course, I must recommend government that the work is ongoing. I pray that they must expedite action on our Adenta Dodowa stretch. We pray that they should expedite action so that, of course, there will be free flow of people and goods from there to increase productivity. So these are some of the practical things that ought to be done. So it's not just about the law. I tell people, it's just about that. So, for example, if you have law in the books and you don't provide logistics to those who enforce the law, I mean, it's just useless. having the good law in the books.
Right. Okay. Council, please hold on for me briefly. Let me just announce the lines, and if anybody wants to join the conversation, they'll be able to. Yeah. So if you just tuned in, this is Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. Exactly 32 minutes after 9, and this morning we're talking about peak hour pricing, and we're looking at the legal and economic side of it. My guest is Dr. Daniel A. Imprempe. Daniel A. Inimprempe, Esquire. He's a legal practitioner and also an economist, and he's helping us have this conversation this morning. You are free to join. Feel free to engage us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we're at ZFMGH, and on YouTube at Zed Multimedia. Feel free to drop a comment under the live stream. We'll read them for you. Also, you can send us a WhatsApp on 0544 321019. 0544321019. You can also call us on 03039566641, 03039566641, and then we'll give you the opportunity to ask your questions or make your comments this morning. All right, Council, let's continue the conversation. So I think one of the things we've established is that in as much as it looks unfair, it is also, I'm talking about the peak hour pricing, it also makes economic sense for the drivers. At what point does that demand-based pricing cross the line into exploitation?
Yes, to me, it's about the reasonable increase. So, for instance, if a driver, I'm not too familiar with this, so I'm just using a hypothetical situation, maybe from Accra to Kaswa, and they'll take something like, let's say, 12 Ghana cedis. And then during the peak, they are charging 15 cities. So they say, 3 cities, how do you call it? Increment. Okay. There again, it depends. Okay. But the person is coming from where can he has planned his this thing exactly. So let's say a city, 2 cities, maximum 3 cities is reasonable for an increment in this particular sense. Okay. But anything above that, to my mind, I think it's quite unreasonable for them to be able to do that. In fact, the other leg of the argument where I agree with them is that maybe the driver at that time, he doesn't stay at Kaswa. Maybe he stays in Labadi. He sends you to Kaswa, and when he's coming, you will not get any passenger and drive and burn the fuel. So maybe that's a little bit support for them to also be able to accommodate. That's the system. When there's a systemic failure, or when government doesn't have an alternative to support, and people are trying to take advantage, you only apply reasonability. Okay, is it reasonable? The increment, is it reasonable at that time? Okay, if I don't do that, and I'm going to stay 2 hours at a bus stop, and if I'm able to pay 2 cities more to be able to get to my destination, to me, I think it is quite reasonable. But then again, some of them overly take advantage of the situation, mention an increment that is quite unreasonable, to the extent, even at a point where maybe a passenger who is not aware that he is going to encounter this, some of them they are not reasonable at all. They will not entertain. Like, okay, but once others are paying the increment and this gentleman is saying that, I don't have it, and they should be able to understand. But some of them are not reasonable at all. Once they say they are increasing, if you are not ready, you don't bother, a lot of fights and stuff. So in the midst of these things, the yardstick is about reasonability. How reasonable is the increment? I think that is what we should be considering.
I see. So would you also say that the exploitation can be defined, or is defined by the lack of choice on the commuter side?
Definitely so. If there are options, let's assume that. Let me give you a real example. People would prefer to even stand in the metro mans and pay the fare, the acceptable fare, to their destination than rather paying more. Okay, but because we don't have alternatives, and mostly in the evening side, this is private transport owners that are readily available for any commuter. Okay, so they study the market, and they take the same people in the same evening, if they get to the bus stop station and then it is only a handful of people, they don't do that. So they only do that when they see a lot of people, and then even once the car is approaching, you see the commuters rushing to that. Then they know, the market is right. Okay, then they take advantage of the situation. So we are in in a how do you call it, free market economy, people, but of course, government's role is to regulate the sector. But the effectiveness of that regulation, as I indicated, is dependent on what you are able to provide. Look, let me digress a little bit, and you will appreciate it. Rent issue in Accra. But the rent law, people are taking 2 years. Even look, if you want to give your landlord a year, guys, to turn it to a tag of war. 2 years minimum. And that is not the position of the law.
Yeah.
3 months is what you say, take maximum or so, 6 months, and that ends there. But they are taking 2 years minimum. And it is the reason is because they'll tell you the government doesn't have houses as an alternative. We had that vision, I think, where the state housing, they're supposed to provide affordable housing for people. And now what we are saying, affordable housing, and in the word, how affordable is another issue. Okay, for the middle class and the lower to be able to accommodate. So these are some of the things. If you have alternatives, it makes enforcement of the regulation more flexible, because even you don't even need to enforce it. If government house is there and let's say it is more competitive or cheaper than the private, why should I go and rent the private? You know, I mean, as an average person, I won't do that. Okay, but it is because the alternatives are not there. That's the reason which people who have it take advantage, some of them to unreasonable advantage of the people. You know, and becoming it's a very complex issue to deal with until we fix you know, our roads, until the government provides an alternative. Ayalolo is working efficiently, you know, Metromass is working efficiently, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In other jurisdictions, government can also support the private people, the JPRTU, to acquire some buses, okay, and they pay government over time, okay, and then with that, once government is dealing with JPRT with this kind of support, they are able to regulate what their drivers does on the road, you know. And we even have people who are not part of the union. They don't have any station. They operate in the evening and during the peak hours in the day. The private drivers that are not part of the union. So it's even difficult for the union to regulate their conduct. Okay, they come in to take advantage of the situation and charge higher prices and move people from one place to another, and that ends it. You also have, and such people, if you leave your product or whatever in that vehicle, it will be very difficult for you to get it. Okay, but mostly those who are in the union, they hardly do that. So I think we should also understand this caveat in the whole discussion. Mostly those who take undue advantage they call them floating drivers or something. They have a 10. You know, they come in the evening, during the morning, peak hours, take advantage, but during the afternoon, you don't see them.
Yeah.
And they don't belong to any union. They are not regulated by the GPRT at various stations.
I see. Let's come to the law. Let's come to the law now. So we know that they are not allowed to adjust fares in real time like that, isn't it?
Yes.
So
okay, so they are operating an illegality, which is as you indicated. Okay, but even then, do we have a monetary? There was a time that the Ministry of I think Transport or Road and Transport they used a case study at Ashama also, and then they wanted to enforce some of these things. In fact, unfortunately, some of the drivers that they've seen them operating by the roadside, and they were not part of the union. The union said they don't know them. They are operating on their own, and this is very difficult to track them because the passengers, most of us stand by the roadside. You know, you need a vehicle as early as possible to get you on the station, and they are the type. You know, the GPRT ones, they load at the station. So to the extent that if the traffic is high, you see the leadership trying to call people to bring in more vehicles to come and convict. And these people, they are the fast track guys. You know, they come and pick people, they do whatever they like, and it is very difficult to be able to track them. It will take some time, but I believe strongly that to start with, the Metromass or the Ayalolo should be working very well. That is the first thing. And secondly, government should find a way of supporting the GPRTU to own standard buses, so that those regulatory buses on the road will find a way of scrapping them. Then we can now target them. And look, if you see this regulatory vehicle, then you should know that it's not part of the union. So once the union have all these buses with a sticker on it, everybody knows. So those without a special embossment or a sticker, then we know that the floating ones, and they can they can track them and deal with them accordingly.
Right.
So, in fact, when the system is not well structured, a person may be committing an illegality, but you find it difficult to be able to deal with the person or even arrest the person because the system has made it fruitful for them to commit that illegality at the blind side of the authorities.
In terms of consumer protection, I'm going to come back to you on this one, and what the government can do. But in terms of consumer protection, do consumers, or commuters, really have any role protection under the laws in such a situation? Can they challenge the fares, practically speaking?
As it stands now, I stand to be corrected, but we don't have a consumer protection law. I think there's one that they are drafting over the years, but they've not finalized it now. We don't have a law that protects a consumer, like a specific law. Of course, we may have a bit and pieces that FDI, when it moves into the realm of FDI in terms of expired products that are not of a standard. But this unique situation, we don't have the same that protect the consumer.
Oh, really?
Where do you go and even report? Those kind of stuff.
I actually thought I've seen a Consumer Rights and Protection Act some years back. I don't know whether, some time back. I don't know whether it's not a law yet.
No, that's why I say I stand to be corrected because I know it is not yet a law. Because the last time I even checked with the consumer protection people, this man. The name just escaped me.
No problem.
He has established consumer protection agency that tries to advocate for consumer protection. The last time I checked with them, whether they now have the law to make their work better, they told me, still not there. So I'll verify thereafter, but I'm very sure that we don't have such, law currently working. Yes. That is there. But when it comes to the range and area there, we have it. The range control act is there that regulates, those kind of stuff. But we have the FDA Act, the standard authority also have their own that regulates. So that's the reason which you see them in the market whenever they pick an intelligence, A, B, C, D. But I'm not too sure of the Consumer Protection Act.
I see. Okay, so then it means that it's long overdue. Then we need to find a way to bring that, or maybe advocate for that in the coming days, in the coming months.
The name just in Kofi Kapito.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know Kofi Kapito.
I've been advocating for. The name just came. I've been advocating. The last time I was in their office and asked them, when they say, it's just still a bill. Don't yet be passed for them to be able to. So even as an agency that he has created, there's no even a law backing him to be able to say, I'm tracking, I've conducted this research and this ABC, they are doing this, that they can take action and inform the authorities to be able to prosecute whoever is doing ABC. Yes.
I see. All right, let me announce the lines once again. So if you just tuned in or if you're listening to us, this is Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nitrebi Hammond. This morning we're talking about peak hour pricing, and we're looking at it from two perspectives, the economic and the legal perspective. And my guest is Daniel Enim A. Prempe. He is a legal practitioner and also an economist, and he is helping us have this conversation this morning. You are free to join us. Send us a WhatsApp on 0544-321019. If you have questions or comments, send them to us, 0544-321019. Or you can call us on that same number, or call us on 03039-56641, 03039-56641. And we're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Feel free to drop a comment under the live stream. We'll read them for you as well. All right, Council, let's continue. Now, you spoke about I said we're going to talk about the government's role in all of this. Do you think that government should step in to control or strictly control the peak hour pricing so that we don't exploit people?
Government can do that, but the practicality is the issue. Because already we know the fare. Every commuter knows the fare, from one point to another. The GPRT are aware, but the implementation is the challenge. So the only way to solve it is that during the peak hours, there should be buses available. When buses are available, it neutralizes any other person that may take advantage of the situation. I mean, that's simplicity.
Doc, I think that only solves one part of the problem, and you are speaking about the other part of it. So when we have the buses available, it solves the demand problem. But when it so happens that now the drivers still have to spend a lot of fuel and all of that because of the traffic situation, then it also creates another
Oh yes. Yes, I get it now. Yes, because during the peak hours, and the person is saying that, oh, maybe if I get to Kasua and I'm coming, I'll not get a passenger. What incentive should be there in terms of policy direction to be able to support them? And then, yes. And that's the reason which, of course, the government must work very hard to improve the economy. So if the prices of spare parts are coming down, the city is doing very well, and the prices of spare parts are coming down, fuel prices are coming down, then, of course, private transport owners may not have that justification, okay? So, and there again, the big man, we are back to the big man, who is the government. So you must ensure that you improve the economy. So once they are making this, fuel prices are coming down. Spare parts are coming down. What is your point? You don't have any point. It's just that you want to exploit people, So that's another leg, which is about the sound management of the economy, okay? And there again, if the economic is good with our limited income, and then, of course, you are able to navigate all this petty expenditure, nobody will complain so much. So there again, it's about the performance of the economy, making sure that I improve the fundamentals in the economy. Fuel prices are coming down, spare parts are coming down, people do not have a justification to do what they are doing. So that is another leg, and I largely agree with you that apart from providing buses and the vehicles, that aspect ought to be looked at, okay? And for government to be able to do that. Now that by God's grace, we have Thor coming back to production, I only pray that it will operate at its full capacity for us to process some of our crude, reserve same, like what other nations are doing, so that when the price of the wet market increases, you release stock to neutralize that's the way that government can subsidize or mitigate high prices, So there's so much on the shoulders of government, and that's the reason which I've been saying that when you've been appointed by His Excellency as a minister, as a CEO of an institution, it is not a reward for your effort during political campaign. It is for you to support the overall vision of the president to ensure we improve this economy, so that the citizens will benefit. And that should be the philosophy for all government appointees. And if they are able to do that, I think if they are able to have this orientation or this philosophy, it will influence their behavior and their approach to resolving and solving issues for the betterment of the citizens. But we are here to get there. Maybe some of these discussions are very important, and as we collectively discuss it and push it at the throat of policymakers, they will see the wisdom in ensuring that they create an economic environment that will support every pocket, that will support every household and every individual.
I see. All right. Doc, so maybe a few more things and then we can go. Now, more specifically, like I was asking, so are you saying that government cannot control the prices, really? I mean, maybe we can say that around peak hours, you can don't charge more than, say, 50% of what you charge regularly, so that now people are not exploited, because the drivers just mentioned any amount at all that they feel like, sometimes, yes. So do you think the government can step in there, or what are even the risks of price controls in a system like that, if that is supposed to happen?
Oh, of course, government can do that, but to do that, they need to conduct the kind of research that is informing this discussion, okay, to look at it. And first, you need to scan the environment and know the zoning. That, during the peak hours, from Adina to maybe Dodoa is huge. From Spintex to Kasua, or from 37 to Kasua, okay, so you know the area. Then you come out, so you know how much they have been charging and exploiting people. And then you come out with that. During peak hours, we understand the situation. Government is working very hard to fix the situation. Okay, so during peak hours, if you are moving from, let's say, 37 to Medina, you can only charge extra a CD or 1 CD 50 pesos or 80 pesos or something like that. Then they can regulate it. They can do that. Once they do that, passengers will become better informed, okay, and they will resist any attempt from any other private operator that may would like to overly exploit them. I think that should be a genesis. I think I agree with this, your model. Okay, it should be a genesis to curbing the situation once we look at a very holistic and pragmatic solution going into the medium term and long term perspective.
But are there certain models from other countries that you think that we can use to solve this realistically? I don't know if you know any.
Oh yes, the last time I visited Istanbul, Turkey, and I was going to another city, so let me go by road and then see the places and know you cannot just be. By the time you realize you touch base, you don't see anything, you don't see the beauty of the end. You know, we're there about just 5 of us, and then the bus started moving. Not the way it moves according to time. So at the bus station, if I'm the only one, and if you have only 10 minutes to load, then you move. So as you go along, then you started picking, and another person. So, so at any point in time you get to the bus stop, a bus is there, takes you. So it minimizes the traffic, you know, as you go along. And of course, just like we discussed, there's a certain subsidy that it gives to almost all these drivers. If you are able to buy a certain amount of fuel over a period of time, you know, because everything is computerized, they're able to determine, and you keep the receipt or whatever it is, you enjoy a certain discount when you are buying the next fuel. Okay, so it makes the drivers also to conform to that particular policy. So some of these things are you know, there. Look at our roads. If you feel this morning you want to ride a bicycle from maybe Adenda to Medina, I mean it's highly risky because there's no a lane for the short distance. Why should I drive from Adenda to you pick a bicycle and you know it's a way of minimizing traffic in the city. So we need a holistic approach to our planning mechanism as a people. Okay, but countries have done same. The example I just cited, I was amazed that a country that manufactures cars, Japan, people are riding bicycles. I mean, the professor asked me, "Oh, Dan, do you know how to ride a bicycle?" I laugh. I said, we ride bicycle with skills, so not what we are doing." You know, we rode the bicycle. I mean, this is the man that is having Mercedes Benz. I told him, say, drive this Sunday when you feel like you wanted to have some small fun. Ride a bicycle to the train station. You park it and you lock your bicycle. You take a train wherever you want to go and come. Efficiency, less fuel consumption, time planning, and then the whole system is moving seamlessly. So a lot the models are there for our big men to consider. Not necessarily for us. We said no. The last time I traveled with a brother of mine, and then with another colleague, and he said that, "Oh, Charlie, these people should come and do underground trains for us." My brother said that, look, even if they want to come, World Bank want to come and do this thing for free, he will vehemently oppose it. So we asked why. He said we need to get the surface one. That underground train, we cannot even manage our surface road underground to say there's a lighthouse and we don't have what it takes to be able to manage people who are stuck and beneath there. No, you alone will oppose it and we all laugh. Okay. All that he was trying to say is that let's solve even the basic ones. Then we'll start taking at the bigger one.
Right.
And that's the reason which means when I heard that there's going to be there's a feasibility for a sky train, I said, why we cannot deal with the surface road?
We are thinking of the sky.
As much as it's a very good thing that within the South region we will be the first people to have it, but let's deal with the basics. Okay.
Right.
So these are my
Council, thank you very much. Maybe your final. I want you to speak directly to consumers. What can they do in such a situation?
Consumers.
Yes.
Okay. Are you narrowing it to the road the transport issue?
Yes, the pricing. Yeah, the pricing issue.
The
pick-up pricing. Right. So I want us to look at it from both perspectives that you come from. I know you are straddled in accounts and also law. So in both angles, how can they approach it?
Yes, from the point of consumers, we are always at the receiving end. We are very, very vulnerable. Okay. Probably if you have the time, then you may decide not to board the whole thing. But then again, citizens should be very active in governance. You know, you have announced the line severally. They don't. You see, the same people who are suffering. Though, when you bring third parties to bring a solution, this thing. Put politics right now. Decide to put some topical politics. You know, your lines will jam, and that's something I've observed in this part of our way. Things that bother us, things that affect us, when the issue is brought to the fore to provide solution, people don't express any interest. Put in the political thing right now. Say, I'm telling you online, by the time you are done with the program, you need to call people to come and fix your telephone for you. Okay? So our direct active participation, expressing our displeasure, is the way to go. Okay, so that when they even want to do that as a private, they will know that, hey, Charlie, the people are wide, though. Charlie, this thing you think twice. Okay, so to me, these are some of the things that we do. We must be serious about the things that affect our living standards, and we must participate in that process. Topical issues that are of national interest and our personal benefit, we must participate. We don't do that. I'll give you a classic example. I say, when you finish this show, maybe tell your product and put some topical that on this, so that you will see how people will be talking about some unnecessary and useless things in this country that we focus more on. And the thing, so the politicians are very much aware. And they operate within that particular space. So we will blame, we will equally blame. As much as we are blaming the system, we will also put a portion of the blame on the citizen. Okay, and then again, let's.
Oops, I think we lost counsel there, unfortunately. But our time is also up. I wish I could connect him, but because of our time, we'll have to wrap up now. But I think it's been a very good conversation looking at exactly the peak hour pricing, whether it's a survival, sorry, whether it's more of a survival strategy for the drivers or an unfair exploitation on behalf of the commuters. And I think it's clear that it is both of them, and there are certain things that we have to do, government, in terms of our systems, our regulations, and all of that, to be able to advance that. Yeah, but that will be all for today. We're back again tomorrow for some more interesting conversations. So please keep listening to Zed.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and also do follow us on all our socials: on TikTok at Zed Multimedia, LinkedIn at Zed Multimedia, YouTube at Zed TV, IDX, and Facebook at ZFM GH.